Hi friends, how are you? I am excited to interview Joanne Kilkenny today about her brand new children's book, Carlos Gets a Baby Sister. And we are going to chat with her about this beautiful book illustrated by the one and only Alex Gubar, and just some things about how she came up with this concept and how she decided that she was going to write this book and why. So here she is. Let's bring her on. Here we go. Hi, Joanne. How are you? Can you see me? Let's see here. There she is. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. It looks like I'm upside down.
You're sideways a little bit. Yeah.
So how can I fix that?
Are you on your computer?
I'm on an iPad.
Okay, so maybe there's a little bit, there's a button, I think, that
It,
actually will let you flip it.
yeah,
Or if you,
I'm
it's not
hitting that
working.
button, but it
Okay,
keeps going sideways.
maybe you'll just have to turn it.
Yep.
Okay,
Let's see how that works.
and one more time maybe.
No, we're
And one more time after that.
all right. Let's
Oh,
see.
there we
Here
go.
we go.
Yay. Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
Technical difficulties.
It's okay. It's Tuesday. It happens. What do you
Yeah,
do, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thanks so much for joining me today. I'm
Well,
excited that you're here and I can't wait to talk about your new book.
thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Definitely. So, we know about Carlos Goes on Vacation. That
Yeah.
was your very first book. And then your second book was.
Carlos goes to the hospital.
Yes. And the third one is Carlos Gets a Baby Sister.
That's
So
right.
we have the same character throughout this entire series. And can you tell us a little bit about who he is and how
Mhm.
he inspired you?
Well, he was a small dog with a very large personality. He was my grand dog, and right from the very beginning, when my son and daughter-in-law got him, he I've never seen a dog with personality the way he did. And French bulldogs, are known for their big personalities. And of course, when you get your pet and there's no other children, it's like your first baby. So he was my grand fur baby, and he had this personality with it. He loved to wear outfits. He loved to be dressed up. He was a great photo object. Like, I took so many photos of him. Actually, the first book, Carlos Goes on Vacation, started out with being a photo album book that I made for my son and daughter-in-law
Aw.
after he came for his first vacation to Sanibel Island. And so he was a very big person. And even if people have ever seen the bio on Carlos in the back of the book or on my website, there's a picture of Carlos with a tie. And that picture, just as an example of his personality, we were having a family dinner outside on the patio. And I think my daughter-in-law got up from her chair to go get something. And he jumped up and sat in the chair, just ready with his tie on. And I actually had to erase the glass of red wine that was in front of him in order to use that photo. But I thought that and just the expression on his face so depicted Carlos.
I love that. And I find that animals are so inspiring in terms of like the little quirks and things
Yeah.
that they do and how they really kind of bring all different kinds of emotions to us, but also in the things that they're doing. So Carlos was how old? And you're going to tell us, the stories that you've done, but we also want to know He was how old, and what condition did he have?
Well, Carlos actually started out, getting unwell after he was 6 months old. I think before he was a year, he had his first epileptic seizure.
Aw.
And he had skin allergies. So he had to be put on raw food, special pills for his skin, and of course, medication for his epilepsy. And so they controlled the conditions, but even on his skin, he would have these red patches on his skin. So he started out, poor little guy didn't start out well. And then when we went to Florida. He was a great little car, like he sat in the car and slept, and he was so good, no one even would know he's in the car. So he slept in the car for, about 20 some odd hours down to Florida, and he did well. And then the house we had some stairs, and he was going up and down, and apparently some French bulldogs, the stairs don't work very well. So in the book, as the book starts and Carlos goes to the hospital, it starts out with him sleeping in the car on the way home. And it was very soon after that my daughter-in-law and son noticed he was having trouble walking. One leg was giving out, and so they took him to the vet and were recommended to a specialist, and he had to have major back surgery. And so he had the back surgery, and it was 6 weeks of recuperation, and that's where the whole story, all of the books are based on true story, obviously. And he recovered well from it. It's hard to keep a dog for 6 weeks without jumping and getting excited when people came in.
Yeah.
And he was doing really well. But Emma was born, and he had to learn not to have the show, like give the attention. And I think she was about 8 months old when he started having some more issues, and they brought him back to the neurosurgeon. And she saw that he was having more trouble in his neck. He was going to have another major surgery. His palate was having issues, and she just said to them, he's not doing well. It's time to say goodbye. And so he was only 3 years old. And they did everything that they could to keep him healthy. So he was only with us for such a short time. And he was such a big part of the family. And even as Emma grew, she was like 2 years old, we'd talk about stories about Carlos, and he was he's still a big, part of the family.
And now he's immortal. Now he's immortalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what, I always looked at him and thought, you should be a character in a book or a cartoon or something. And then, I started having the ideas of the story. I'm writing a story and said, that's what I was going to do. But the more I spoke to Emma and talked about all these stories with her, I realized that this would preserve his memory and share those memories with Emma. So that really prompted me to keep moving forward and to write these
wonderful
books.
And you know what the other thing is too, is that I really appreciate about your book bringing the awareness to this, especially for the subjects that you have, because animals going to the vet and going to these specialists and having all of these tests done, that can be really scary for kids.
Yes.
And the way that you've written this book is in such a way where you make it understandable, you make it very well thought out, very clear as to what's happening and what happens next. And, it's not just some pets that go to the vet, it's all pets that go.
Right.
And I think that is really taking away that stigma, while also filling a niche for those kids who may not understand what's happening.
Exactly.
So, that is a huge, huge, huge goal that you have accomplished. And I mean, I've read all of your books, of course, and I really think that was such a smart book to write, because it really speaks to kids in such a way that they're going to be able to understand that, you know, this is something that happens. This is part of life. This is how we talk about this. And especially with your new book, with the introduction of a new baby,
Mm-hmm.
that can also be used as kind of a teaching tool for maybe how another sibling is feeling.
Exactly, Lacey. And, even with Carlos Goes to the Hospital, it can always be translated into a parent having to go to the hospital,
Yes,
having those tests and whatnot. So it can really relate to pets and family members as well. And I thought that would really, really help. And I know with siblings, it's hard when you bring a new baby in. So I really want to roll into the story, how some children might feel a little left out and whatnot.
yeah,
And it's normal. It's
it
normal. And
is.
parents are so focused on trying to deal with this new experience and being a parent to more than one child that you lose sense sometimes. And again, it's normal. And, at least reading the story with a young child, who's got a baby coming, they sense all these changes coming. And it's good to just keep it all in mind.
Definitely. And I think you've done an amazing job with that. And I also feel
Mhm.
like the discussion questions that you've included really open up those conversations. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's included in your books in terms of like activities and things like that that you've added?
Well, I did in the last book, Carlos Gets Baby Sister. I have a helpful tips page, which
Yes.
outlines for people who are maybe bringing a brand new baby home with a pet. But I know as mom, a lot of those translate again into when you bring
Yeah.
home a child. So it's just some helpful tips to people to think about, bringing their pet. The pet feels this change in a room with it's painted, new furniture, and go and sit with the pet, get them used to it. And
Hmm.
also, walking in with having someone else bring the baby in the house, and you come in and greet your child or your pet. And I think that all those items can relate to both. And I always remember, and I posted a picture of when my son brought Emma
Oh.
home in the car seat, and he put her on the floor, and there was Carlos just stood looking in this car seat, and you could just think about, he's thinking, what is this? It moves. So
This is smaller than I am. What is
yeah.
it? Why is it crying?
Exactly, exactly. So, and you know what, speaking of crying, I mean, Alex did such a great job of depicting it in, that page where he's talking about, things have been so different since this baby arrived. And he cries day and night, and she's got the sun to the moon, and she
Yes.
just did an amazing job.
She is so fabulous. She's a gem. And she's
Yeah,
done all three of your books, and they look
absolutely.
amazing. And you
Mhm.
know what? When I was reading over, the tips that you have for introducing a pet into the home with, a baby into the home with a pet, I also feel like those could be translated to maybe the older sibling is going to take that upon themselves to make the pet feel more comfortable because they might feel the exact same way, right?
Absolutely,
So maybe they're
absolutely.
going to go sit with that pet and say, you know what, it's not just me that feels like this, you're
Yeah,
struggling with this too, which I think is a huge connection.
yeah,
And I absolutely love that because, I mean, I'm the oldest. I know what it was like when they brought my brother home. I was thrilled, mind
yeah,
you, but not all kids are like that. And it's one of those
absolutely.
things where we don't realize that maybe our pets kind of have these feelings as well. And I think that you've done such a great job discussing that and depicting that and reminding us that they have as many feelings and personality as we do. And maybe that's why, they're starting to act kind of maybe sad, or they want to spend more time with the baby or more time with their mom and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And it's just a really good depiction of different behaviors and what to expect. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Emma
Mm.
and Carlos and how does she love these book
Oh.
series?
She's 6.5 now, and she's just been waiting for this last book where she actually appears in the book. And she just loves it, and she's so thrilled to see Carlos, in a book, and being brought back to life type thing. And it's the stories that we've talked about a lot, but this book really really excited her. And I put a picture of her when she was a baby with me in the author bio. So this one's it's pretty special, but I have to admit the one I remember the most was waiting until I got the print copy of Carlos Goes on Vacation, and I brought it over, and just watched them, gave it to them, and let them read it and watch their faces, and it was just priceless.
That
Just
is
priceless.
so, so, so special. Absolutely. Does she give you ideas for books?
Well, she sort of said to me, Grandma, what kind of book are you going to do next? And they actually have a new French bulldog. She's Mia.
Ah,
She's about 2. They just got her at the beginning of the pandemic, and she's very different than Carlos. She's very meek and mild for a French bulldog. And so, Emma's sort of, asking what if what the next book might be. And, all these books, the 3 books have been based on true stories, but any further books obviously will, it will be, I'll have to come up with a storyline, but I have one kind of rolling in that perhaps we have Carlos and Mia and Emma
awesome.
in a book. So
Excellent.
that could be coming out in the future.
I love that. That's so fun. I can't wait. And
Thank you.
remind me if I'm wrong, but Carlos Goes to the Hospital was a bestseller, right?
Yes, actually, it hit
Yes.
number 3 on the day of its
Awesome.
release, which was that was
Amazing.
just such a thrill for me. It
Yeah,
really was.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And that's something that's so special too, because like, this is based on reality. This is based on your real life. This is based on a real dog. And
Yeah.
so many people loved it and enjoyed it. And where can we get your books? You have a website.
I have a website. It's FrenchiePublishing.wordpress.com. Or
Okay.
you can go on Amazon.
Yes.
All the books. And I should mention too that Carlos Goes on Vacation is also there's a French version. And
Yes.
I did that. My granddaughter goes to French immersion. Well, she goes to French school. My daughter-in-law's French Canadian. So I felt that it was important, and she wanted to take a book to school and share it with her classmates. So we did the first book in a French version. So
And how
that's
cool is that?
available.
My grandma wrote this book, and here it
Yeah,
is for
yeah.
show and tell. That's
Yeah,
pretty epic.
exactly. Well,
Beat
I mean,
that, right?
the first time that she did the show and tell, of course, they were doing homeschooling, and my daughter-in-law told me this story, and it just warmed my heart. And she had the book, and she was basically couldn't read the book yet, so she was telling them, turning the pages and relaying the story. And at the end of it, her teacher said, "So Emma, who is the author of the book?" And she goes, "My grandma."
She's so proud of you. Your whole family's so proud of you.
Thank you.
Being an author is something that is such a legacy. It is something that can never be taken away. Your books are registered with the Canadian Archives of Canada. Like, that is a big deal. And not one, not two, but 3 so far. That is pretty special. And also, I know that you get inspiration from your real life and all the people in your life and animals and things like that.
Yeah.
But you're an avid photographer. How much does that come into play with your creativity? And do you ever see something that you've taken a picture of and like think, that would make a great story?
Well, I do. I'm amateur for sure. I love nature,
Oh,
and
Joanne, your pictures, like she's everyone here today, she's not doing herself justice, okay? You should see her photos. The moon,
thank you.
snow owls, like
Yeah.
nature, amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing stuff. So, How does that come in?
Well, I think when I look back, at the beginning of all of this, I was a corporate event planner. So I organized conferences and events in different parts of the world. So I would look back and I already had that type of a creativity. And I didn't really think any of this and my photography would lend itself to actually my book writing. But when I look back at it, I think, when I did the photographs of Carlos on his vacation and laid them out in the photo book, it basically was a book, but it was a visual book.
Right.
And and my events are concepts. And so I think the photography, I have done photos, but I haven't had any like a real inspiration other than the story I wrote for Pandemonium Publishing's Act of Kindness.
Yes.
Of the tiny little wren that I watched in our
That was an
backyard.
amazing story. Yeah.
It was,
Can you just share that briefly so that everybody who hasn't read the book, they can go and get it, pandemoniumpublishing.com, or you can get it on Amazon, and just give us a little snippet of that story, because I find that that is so fascinating in terms of how this came to be, and yours specifically.
yeah, at the end of watching this amazing little miracle, I was so touched, and I had taken a few pictures from afar. But I happened to took my tea out in the backyard. We had a pool. It was at my other house. And I was just watching in the backyard. And all of a sudden, our dog Lily went over and looked into the pool. And she just kept, her head was moving. And I thought, oh, she sees something. And I thought, oh, it's, a leaf or whatever. I went over, and here's this little wren bobbing in the pool. It must have tried to get water on the stair and fell in. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go get something. So I started rushing to the back of the backyard to pick up the pool skimmer. And as I walked back, he was heading straight for the drain, the skimmer. And I was just so concerned. I dropped that and thought, what can I go and do in the house? I grabbed a scooper, soup scooper, ran out, and I opened the lid of the skimmer, kind of bracing myself for what I might, where I might see. But he was still bobbing ahead, so I pulled him out, put him on the cement. I went back and left him, and he looked very lifeless. And so I continued to watch, and the next thing I knew, some wrens came in, and they landed around him, and there were about 4 or 5 of them, and they all just were chirping very loud to him. And it went on for a little while, and then you could start seeing him come to a bit of life, and he shook himself, and they continued, and they'd kind of go close to him and not peck at him, but obviously some form of communication. And this went on for a while until he could actually start moving. And then it was almost like they guided him over under a bush to keep him safe. And so at some point, I thought that it was just watching it was something I'd never seen before, nature at its best. And I went in to make dinner, and I kept checking on him. And eventually we saw that he was gone. And so it was so heartwarming to think that, he survived and he flew off. But I had never experienced nature taking care of nature before.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And you have to read Joanne's account in the book For the Love of Animals, okay? Because this is such a great story. She describes it in detail, and it's nature taking care of nature, like you just said. Now, you are a nature lover. Your granddaughter is a nature lover. And tell us the very special project that you did together with your special...
Yes, we have a tradition, and they are actually going to be arriving very soon for this year.
Exciting.
My granddaughter and I started, I love butterflies, and she is loving them now too. And so it was, I think this will be about our third time that I decided that it would be a great experience to grow our own butterflies. And so, you know, there's a company in Toronto, and you can order your caterpillars. And so we actually receive the caterpillars, and we go through each stage. And once they form their chrysalis, then we move them to a butterfly net and watch them. We post them on the ceiling of the net, and you watch them literally, you know, growing their chrysalis,
Wow.
and see them. We've watched them literally coming out of. I think it's called cloaking, coming out of it. And then taking their first, you know, their first flights inside the butterfly net, and releasing them. And they usually don't all cloak at the same time. So we will take the net, and we open it up, and sometimes we've been able to take it. They provide you with a little stick, and it's just amazing just to watch them fly away. And it's been such a great experience for her and myself. And so I'm just waiting for the next ones for year 2022 to come in, and we'll
Wow.
be doing them again.
That is so cool. You are
Yeah.
the only person I've ever heard doing that, and that is the coolest thing ever. Like, you're a very cool grandma. You're an author, you grow butterflies, you're a
Thank you.
photographer, you save animals. Like, it's just
Oh,
amazing. And
thank you.
what is your favorite part of being an author? If you had to pick, I know it's so hard and that's such a
Yes.
hard question, but what do you like the most?
You know, I really love the um, coming up with the concept of the story, and watching it unfold, because I find that any of these stories, I've thought them out before I really started writing them. I typically will come up with the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
the opening, and the end, and then I'll start filling in the blanks. And it's just a great feeling to watch it unfold. And it sort of relates a little bit to my event planning career, because you know, you get the concept, and then you plan this event, and a lot of times there was an experience type rolled into it, a feel. And again, you were putting this all together, and it's such a great feeling of accomplishment,
Yes.
to see it unfold. And that's the part I love about it, is the developing it,
Yeah.
and putting the story together.
And kind of, do you ever find that you are surprised about kind of, you said that you develop the beginning and the end, but do you ever find yourself kind of surprised about what happens in the middle and how you connect the two?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And you sort of, you sit and think about it, and then you get an idea. And it, you know, it starts with all these point forms,
Hmm.
and then you start rolling it all together. And usually by the time I sit and start writing, filling it in, I pretty much, it's just coming out, you know, it's just flowing out of me.
Yes.
And so I really do a lot of it in my mentally before I actually sit down to write it.
And every author I talk to has a completely different process. Like, some of them work backwards, some of them do an outline first, your beginning and end, and then you fill
Yeah.
in the middle, that sort of thing, which I think is so interesting because everybody has their different way of doing things and different way of developing story. So, why specifically children's books? You know, why did you choose that genre? Because that is a genre where it's really, really difficult to write children's books. Don't you agree? Like, 850 words is tough.
Well, I know the first one I sent to you for editing was like quite a bit longer. You know, I think when I think about a middle grade reader, that one would kind of scare me a little bit more, to have to to fill in this and to extend that story. I think the children's book, because you know I have Emma, and
Yes.
I wanted these to be for her, and she's, you know, in another year or so she'll be doing the middle age reader, and perhaps, you know, I might try one of those for the
Yeah.
next adventure. But I didn't have any other thought other than, you
So
know,
you
I
just
wanted to.
knew. You
Yes.
knew that that's what you wanted to do. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
authors I meet are very like, I don't know if I should be writing this or if I should be writing that. This kind of doesn't seem like the way that I should go. Maybe I should try this kind of thing. But you just knew, you were sure that this is what you
Yes.
wanted to do. And yeah, I think it does really help when you have kids that age. Like I have my nephews and
Yeah.
niece, and they're that age. And it's just like, we think about stories all the time. When you're with Emma, do you guys, does she ever say like, oh, she makes up stories in her imagination and she shares that with you and says, Grandma, how do you
Yeah.
think that this happens? Like, we have those conversations all
Yeah.
the time.
Yes, we
So
do.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if that's kind of the same, and if she just has this like well of ideas where you just can't get them down fast enough.
Yes, you know, it's so true. You know, we sit and when we do her playing down in the basement with all her toys and stuff, it's amazing to just listen to them, and hear them. And occasionally, she's gotten to a point where instead of doing a story, I would videotape her, or
Oh,
you know, video her doing what she would call a show, and she would be acting out and telling the story, of, you know, her Barbie whatever, and so she does it in that manner. So it's, you know, I have many videos of her, doing her little shows, and so
oh.
it's heartwarming to watch.
That is so special. And what do you want your readers to get out of the Carlos series? What is kind of the main message? I know each book is different in terms of
Yeah.
what you talk about and the different themes, but if there's one central theme across all three of them, what do you want your reader to know or to take from that?
I think what I think one of the points would be just the impact of of your pet, what, you know, whether it's a dog, a cat, whatever, just the impact a pet has on your life and your emotions, and how they move through life with you and you with them.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great message. And you know what? I think it's really important for kids to, this is my personal opinion, but grow up with pets because
Yes.
it teaches them empathy, it teaches them compassion, it teaches them fun, it teaches
Yeah.
them adventure and imagination and all of these things. And, your series of French bulldogs
Yeah.
specifically, like, what a fun breed. And even for Alex to draw that, do you feel
Yeah.
that she captured his
Oh,
essence?
honestly, I remember the first time she sent me the sketches. I had provided her with the photos, from, you know, his vacation book, and I was just spellbound when I saw her sketches, and seeing her capture Carlos's, the essence and the expressions, and I think even more so in book two and book three, um, she she really, especially in Carlos Gets a Baby Sister, you just smile every page looking at Carlos's expressions, and I was amazed at how she was able to do that. And there were a couple of things that she did in the book that just, you know, it just took me back. In my son and daughter-in-law's house, they have a sketch of Carlos that someone did for them when he was a puppy for a Christmas gift, and it's on the wall, in as you come in their house. And when Alex did the book, and there was no picture inside their house that I provided to her. There's a picture on the wall that looks like it's a black and white French bulldog. Looks like Carlos. She's just magical. She's
I
magical.
agree. I agree 100%. She is magic. There's something about her, that transcends where she is, and she just kind of floats over and is like, yeah, that's going to be in the book. I've never
Yeah,
seen this picture before, but she does it. She knocks it out of the park.
yeah.
So, in all three of your books, which one was the most challenging to write in terms of ideas,
Yeah.
and why?
That would be Carlos Goes to the Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to write it in a way that wouldn't scare children. That I tried to keep the scenes um, without showing, for instance, that where they sleep in a
Mm-hmm.
crate in the back, and I tried to keep it light, and
Yes.
it was a little, it was a little difficult to. Sometimes I'd go back and I'd say, no, that's getting too far in detail. So I
Right.
tried not to put too much detail, but enable them to see that these tests can be run, and that it's not, it can be a little scary, but that this is normal.
Right, right. And how much, speaking of this book specifically, Carlos Goes to the Hospital, you did a lot of research, right? With like
Yes,
machines and different
yes.
things like that. So tell us a little bit about that for the people who think that, you can just kind of write a children's book and then fill in the blanks later. There's a ton of research that goes into it, isn't there?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that that I captured what it might look like. So I did a lot of research for veterinarian type hospitals, and
The
looking into
machinery.
the machinery. And I think Alex made them well, especially the X-ray machine. She made it. She brought a fun element into it.
Yes.
And I think with the MRI, just being able to show what it looks like, but keep it very light
Yeah,
it just maybe not showing Carlos go into the machine, but just
right.
showing him knowing that this is the machine, and don't be scared, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think
yeah.
I wrote in there that, that the doctor gave him something to, so that he would sleep and that he would be calm.
Yes.
So I was very, I was trying to be very sensitive to how I explained it.
Yeah, yeah, and you did an amazing job. And if you don't have these books in your collection, everybody, yet, you need to get them. Okay, they are available on Amazon. They are available pandemoniumpublishing.com. They're available on Joanne's website, and I really think that you need these books, especially if you have kids that are maybe unaware of kind of that stage in life where their animal has to go to the vet. Maybe they have to go to the doctor. Maybe mom or dad has to go to the doctor, that sort of thing, because it does it in such a way where it's beautifully depicted and it takes that fear element out of it. And also with getting a sibling, like that is such a huge life change that I think that this book is absolutely needed in this space. And you've done it in such a way where you've kind of flipped it, because we see these books that are about siblings and getting a new sibling and all this kind of thing, but it never talks about that animal aspect of that. And I can really appreciate that part, because you know what, there are people that just have pets right now and they're bringing home babies, and maybe that animal isn't responding the way that they would hope, that sort of thing. And this is kind of why. And I really appreciate the educational aspect of your books without being heavy-handed. There's lessons in there, and there are so many things that people can learn without being preachy. And that's what we don't want to do in kids' books. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
But Joanne, it is always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you,
And
Lacey. It's been a pleasure.
congratulations on your best-selling books, and all three of them. Carlos Goes on Vacation, Carlos Goes to the Hospital, and Carlos Gets a Baby Sister. All of these are available now, and I will definitely let you know that we're going to have Joanne back, because we got to check on those butterflies.
And there is a butterfly. If people look in the book, each
Yes,
book
tell us
has
about
the
that.
butterfly.
Yeah.
for sure. A signature of each book.
That is so cool, and I love that. And we call those little Easter eggs and things like that. Those are hidden elements. So we're going to talk to Joanne again about some upcoming events that she's going to be at in her new area that she's moving to, and how you can get a hold of her. If you go and get her book, I'm sure if she's at an event, she'd love to sign it for you, that sort of thing. So thank you for joining us today. Go and get Joanne's series. It's fabulous, about Carlos the Frenchie. And Carlos goes on vacation, Carlos goes to the hospital, and Carlos gets a baby sister. All on Amazon, okay? We'll see you again.
Lacey.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
here.
so much.
It's a pleasure. And have a really great Tuesday.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.